Are we on? Are we on?
We're on, I think.
Are we on?
Let's see. Let me we got one person there.
Does that mean we're on?
I think we're on.
Can they say something so we know we're on?
Okay.
Are we
tell
on?
them to say something. Say
Can you let us know if we're on? We're broadcasting. All right. All right. Live from the living room, I'd like to welcome to the stage Venus de Mar. Rar, 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 rar.
All right, I gotta stumble in. So, what happened to my... Oh. All right, here we go. Oh, I gotta get this reset. See, I had it all set. Did you check this over here to see if it fits your? You didn't check it. Yes, this is for you. This is for me, so we don't have to switch. So we're gonna do just some technical stuff here. I got to I gotta check my
Check. Fits.
Does it work? Oh, why don't you turn that light off? So tonight we're going to do. I'm choosing songs off of Ruin, which I wrote about. It was a difficult time, but also an exciting time. I can go into it more as we go. I have a whole bunch of songs. I just have a handle on some of them, so you're going to have to forgive me. I was listening to them and trying to untangle, come up with acoustic versions. And I just wow, I'm just flying through those notes. I can't do that now. I haven't played those songs in so long. I'm going to start with this one. In heaven, everything is fine. In heaven, everything is fine. In heaven, everything is fine. You'll get yours, and I'll get mine. In heaven, everything is fine. In heaven, everything is fine. In heaven, everything is fine. You'll get yours, and I'll get mine. In heaven, everything is fine. You'll get yours, and I'll get mine. In heaven, everything is fine. In heaven, everything is fine. In heaven, everything is fine. You'll get yours, and I'll get mine. In heaven, everything is fine. In heaven, everything is fine. In heaven, everything is fine. You'll get yours, and I'll get mine. A little bit, but it's still hard to play it on the acoustic rather than the electric. So Ruin is an interesting album. We didn't use a click track. We wanted it to capture a live sound, but it was a studio album. So what we did is we didn't use a click track. We just let Jen Dean, who was our drummer then, set the pace, and then we all played to that. So it's a little, if you listen to it, you can kind of hear the inconsistencies. And we also wanted to do it really old school. So we used analog tape. We used the big 24-track tape, and which is, I still have those tapes. They're huge. And then we mastered them at Tom Herber had a studio back then called Third Eye over in Stadium Village area, and he mastered it for us. I would go over there and sit with him, and he would use like these big rack mount analog compressors and stuff because he was trying to do it, and he even did the actual authentic flange effect where you record, you link two versions of it, and then you drag your finger on the flange. And you slow it down, and then you let it go up, and that's how you get that weird sound. So, pretty cool. Okay, let's see. Okay, I'll do another party song. So these songs get really dark. They're really sad. Some of them are real ballad. A lot of it is about suicide and struggling. And then it's also kind of, I was exploring a lot of the fetish world. Doing that. So a lot of it is kind of fetish focused, lyric and party type songs. So this one is called Black Leather. We do it with a full band. So I think I got this one a little bit better, but we'll see. It's still on acoustic. You have to imagine a full band. Oh, it's in drop D, so I got to retune. No, it didn't sound right. Okay. Oh my God, here we go. So drums are going right now. Tell me truth, tell me lies for my very eyes. Take cover, get in the cover, for these things like to fly. Show me truth, show me lies, can't be such a big surprise. Stop solid, crack the wall, I won't listen, not at all. You look gorgeous in those heels, look gorgeous in stainless steel. Your gender means nothing to me. Their gender, try and see. Think quick, think with a clue. What would you want my to do? Bend over, give me a sign. Bend over and I'll make you mine. Worship me, I'll be your slave forever. Do my bidding, I'll grant your heart's desire. Worship me and I'll be your slave forever. Do my bidding, I'll grant your heart's desire. Show me truth, show me lies for my very eyes. Take cover, get in the cover, for these things like to fly. Black leather makes you sweat. Black leather not done with you yet. Black leather buckles and strap. Black leather just one more slap. Worship me and I'll be your slave forever. Do my bidding, I'll grant your heart's desire. Worship me and I'll be your slave forever. Do my bidding, I'll grant your heart's desire. My finger, it's pinching that pick and doing. These are all like rocker songs on this song, a lot of them. And my muscles aren't built up. We're all in COVID land, and it's really hard to keep going on that rehearsal schedule. So I am slowed down. Okay, let me try. I'm going to try one more, and then we'll bring up Lynette and Anthony. So this one, well, this is a slower one. So, very sad one. One push through skin, one rush begins, one touch too thin, one crush within. This path through time, through space is mine. This path, this time, this place to find. One heart, one flesh. Why start? Why mesh? I know we're lost, but that's the cost. Mattering of claps from the peanut gallery. All right. Let me get my guitar down here. All right, so now I'm going to bring up Lynette, my spouse, and then I'll take over the controls over there. So thank you.
Like this? Okay. 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 So I'm going to read from memoir, and I have to kind of chop this up because this is from a chapter right in the middle. I decided to read from this because it's called Ruins, like ruin. And just to set this up a little bit, this follows a chapter where I'd been upset with Venus, known as Steve throughout this because that's what I was calling her, and also using the male pronoun. So apologies for that if it's a little jarring to you. It's actually jarring to me right now too. But anyway, uh, so and what happened was that Steve was spending more time catering to Pandora, the bass player's interests, and it was starting to bug me. And Steve was forgetting to make plans with me for lunch, for example. And so in the previous chapter, this all came to a head, and I yelled at the two of them on a corner when they ran into me and said, "Oh, what, too bad you didn't show up earlier. We just went to lunch." And Steve had told me earlier that morning he had no time even to go to lunch for 15 minutes with me. So I blew my top. After my outburst at Steve and Pandora a year earlier in New York, when we got back home, Steve and I began going back to the norms of our relationship, which were for the most part positive. Then, about a week later, he came back from a band rehearsal. "I'm sorry to tell you this, but the band has decided you can't come on any more trips with them. They're finding it too distracting." I had intuitively known that I needed to stay by Steve and grow with this musical career thing or be left behind in the dust. I was doing that as much as possible. I was on sabbatical and finally had the time to travel and help out, and now he was telling me that the band had decided to give me the boot. I'd been there from the beginning, had spent hours fending off creeps from behind the sales table, running errands for whoever needed it, and this was all the thanks I got. All the funding for Steve's costumes, instruments, travel, studio space, etc., which the other band members benefited from and used, came from my financial support. I'd come up with the names for all their special theme events like Fin de Siècle, Fleur du Mal, etc., and it even named the fucking band. Those were just the elements I was conscious of thinking. At that point, I didn't have words to express what part of my marriage I'd given over to that entity. And now they seemed to think they could just vote me away because of one very justifiable outburst. Okay, so basically what I decide to do, getting Steve's blessing for this, is I decide I'm going to talk to each band member individually just to reassure them that I'm not a crazy person. I'm not going to lose my shit on a tour again. So this is part of that. Emily Hooper said she had no problem with my joining them in the future. She had not voted to keep me away. That made me feel a lot better. There were only 4 voting band members, so maybe my quest wasn't as hopeless as I initially thought. Next, I talked with Jendine, who said something that surprised me. She'd been following Steve's lead, she said. When the subject came up, Steve hadn't made any argument in favor of allowing me to come on future trips. Jendine interpreted that to mean that Steve didn't want me coming along anymore and voted against my joining them. She said if Steve wanted me to come along, she'd be fine with that as well. I also talked to Jendine about my perception that Steve was more concerned with Pandora's feelings than mine. "Yeah, well, Venus and Pandora do kind of have a thing," she said, agreeing. "What? What do you mean?" I hadn't expected a confirmation. Jendine started quickly correcting herself. "Oh, I don't mean they're having any kind of affair or anything like that," she said hastily. "It's just that, well, they sort of have a groove together. They're in tune with each other. It's different than with the rest of us band members." A wave of numbness cascaded through me. I hadn't been imagining it. This was my first confirmation that what I was observing wasn't a delusion. I didn't think they were having a physical affair either. But there was a link between them. I'd felt it already. It was pushing me out of my life with Steve. It was palpable enough for other people to notice. So while I'm doing all this, remembering what happened, I'm also walking around Ground Zero, and it's November, early November of 2001. So it's still smoking there. It's still pretty devastating. They're still doing rescue. We're trying to do rescue. It's not really rescue anymore. As I started walking around the Ground Zero site, I came upon the beginning of what would be many makeshift memorials affixed to the chain link fence, bouquets of flowers in their plastic bags stuffed through the gaps, The notices with photographs asking if anyone had seen this missing person, like one might put up for a lost cat or dog. But the notices were for someone's husband or wife, brother, sister, father, mother, child. Where had they last been seen or heard from? Some of the posters were in protective sleeves, others bare to the elements, the paper wrinkled and stained with rain. Some of them were several pages long. The individual collective pain was heartbreaking. I wished Steve could see these things with me. Maybe we would give each other a little squeeze on the hand. Maybe we'd put an arm around each other. After talking with Jandine about whether she was okay with my joining the band on some trips, I was afraid to talk to Steve about my concerns. It wasn't just me. Jandine had recognized a special relationship with Steve and Pandora. But I didn't know how to voice my concerns anymore. He might not understand what I was saying and somehow make it my fault. Steve would end up siding with Pandora even more. That's essentially what had already happened in New York. It would be years before I heard of the concept of an emotional affair. At the time, I ascribed his attempt to keep her happy to the fact that he saw her as integral to the success of the band. Being on stage felt validating to him as a trans person, a feeling that he didn't often have off stage. So it made sense that he wanted her in the band in order to further feel validated as a trans person. But I still knew he'd taken it way too far. But I didn't know how to broach that to him without triggering the defensive reaction. I felt I had to stay close. I didn't know what else I could do. Years later, I would find out that Pandora was the only one who said I shouldn't be allowed to join them on band trips anymore. Steve hadn't disagreed with her, and then, after dropping her off at her apartment behind Lyle's Liquor Lounge, he drove home to tell me that the band had decided I couldn't join them anymore. As I moved west toward the Hudson River, it seemed as if I was in a neighborhood. Small trees were planted on the boulevards, and they appeared undamaged by the devastation nearby. Along another chain-link fence, this one dividing the sidewalk from what might have been a tiny park, there were scores of teddy bears, most of them pink or blue, in a row along the fence, some with ventilator masks. As I looked at the flowers and read the notes, I realized this was another memorial. It's hard to describe how my heart broke with tenderness for people I would never know when I saw the ventilator masks on the teddy bears. I had begun the journey around the site feeling sorry for myself, sad that my husband often chose other people's company and interests over mine, sad that when everything between us seemed to be going fine, another crazy hitch would develop out of nowhere. But my sorrow was nothing like the sorrow these people had experienced, the real losses they must have felt. Okay, and basically, for the meeting with Pandora, this is before I knew that she was the person who didn't want me to come along, that she was the one who started the whole discussion. I wrote her a letter of apology and met with her at a coffee shop like I'd met with other people just to try to reassure her that I wasn't going to lose my shit on people in the band on a tour. Despite my wretched misgivings, I plowed ahead, doing everything I could think of to make it better. Yet it was so clear as she sat across the small wooden table from me, shoulders high, eyes only meeting mine in short, angry bursts, that not only would she never see me as a friend, but perhaps she never had. It bewildered me. All I had to go on was that Steve seemed to think she was a nice person, yet I could tell that she hated me. And I'll end it there. If you guys join us for the next hour, I will come to the end of that. And now I'm going to introduce Anthony Ceballos. Anthony Ceballos joins us in the stage, and should I introduce you? I don't know. Anthony Ceballos, a veteran of the living room performances, a veteran, and he was a Loft mentee, Mentor Series winner a few years ago. He's had some works published. He's currently enrolled in the MFA program at Randolph University. So please welcome to the carpet, Anthony Ceballos.
Hello. Oh my. This is called unsettling. You are my sister. You are my brother. You are my mother. You, my father, begging to be a father. You are my breaking bones. My need to drown in the womb, be reborn as an already dead rose, through dirt, on an earth not on fire, this land, this native apocalypse, this, your flesh ungendered, your body unsexed, my hair around your hair, our eyes sewn shut, as we swim through tar, through molten rock, through a split in our skin, a split through time, through air, through fog, and you who are my sister, you who are my brother, my mother, my father begging to be my father, shoot thorns from your tongue. Watch their Bibles go up in flames, their English reduced to an ash. All our relations will blow away with a single breath. We will not be silent. We were never meant to be silenced. They cut out our tongues, told us that's the way it is, and gouged out our eyes. But we will not remain blind as we claw our way back home in the dark, us descendants, us enrolled, us 23.5%, us 67%, full blood, half blood, reservation, inner city, high schooled, college schooled, no schooled, boarding schooled, with our fathers, without our fathers, our mothers in hospital beds, our mothers in nursing homes, our mothers in agony. We will weave our stories together and end this end time colonial settler nightmare they call America. The final piece of writing I will share is called The Hands of Two Brown Men. The hands of two brown men are positioned just so, feathers resting against a spider's web, delicate yet severe, waiting to grasp a hold of every dream that passes on the other side of an aging bus window, are a brilliant spectrum of the oddities of time. One is scarred, cracked and broken, dried, wrinkling slowly as if a leaf dancing at the edge of the sun. The other is a fresh coat of paint, layered around a fine wooden frame, a house newly built, waiting for memories and unborn stories to fill its every hallway, its every vein. Each hand has its destination, yet both manage to find each other, to exchange information, knowledge, talk to one another about what happens when fingers break and nails are torn, palms are rusted and joints turn to ash. How to let go of a metal handle if it burns, tear a piece of paper if it cuts, hold tightly to a puddle of lukewarm water. Two brown hands on a bus exchange information, silently plan a revolution, crack knuckles and tap a rhythm no one will understand. One will pull the cord, the other will wave a brief goodbye. Thank you.
So if you can't hear, Lynette is dressing in the version of the '90s that she did. This is the way she looked when we would go on tour and doing things. So very '90s. And here's a very 2020 1990s 2020 look right here. This one, Ponyo. It's Ponyo. Let's see, what's our timeline? Okay, I'm going to do a song and then I'll read. And I know that you've been reading, and I know a lot of you here right now for the first set are Patreons from my Patreon page. So for the second set at 9 o'clock, we're going to go over to my Patreon page, and we're going to do a second set like this, but with different stuff. And that'll be for the patrons, and it's all tiers. All of them, so high tiers, but it's all tiers. So you still have time if you haven't joined. It's like the cheapest tier is $2, and that's like a whole month, and so you get all of our second sets that we've archived up to this point doing this plus tonight. So you can still do that if you want to. You don't have to. This is wonderful, and thank you so much. Okay, I'm going to do this one. Let's see if I can remember it. Let's see, I got to look at my notes. I just use these notes. Maybe I'll show it later. Let's see. are closer to my poster child. You are crossing over the line where fantasy and life are in the same. This is a flame, my desire, minus the pain, minus the strain. You're just a creature. I try and teach you, but you just take what I give you. Suck all the lifeblood out of me. You found the fashion. You found the passion of the fire. You are my rain check. You are my train wreck. Take my eyes, let them see. Bleed my heart. This pain is free. Lose control. Lose your head. Crack your soul. You'll kill the dead. Closer to my poster child. You are crossing over the where fantasy and life are one and the same. This is a flame, my desire, minus the pain, minus the strain. That was called 4M. Well, I'm going to read a segment from this 2 chapters from my memoir, that work in progress memoir that got published in Queer Voices, and that was in Minnesota Historical Society Press. And I'm going to read one because I think it kind of reflects that time of not understanding who I was, self exploration, really, and a lot of it was damaging and difficult because there were no guideposts, there was no trans community, there was no information. We were creating everything that we have now as trans people now coming out, have a way to progress and move and to understand themselves. Back then, have any of that. So this is called Late Night. Someone, how are we doing on time? Okay. Summer 1981, Duluth, 2 a.m. I fashion and file a small flat ring. Its diameter is 1/2 inch. Its thickness 1/16. Its flatness the result of crafting a sheet of brass using a jeweler's saw. If it were copper, it would appear as if a penny had had its center drilled out with a gap just enough for a small pinch of skin. At this gap are the ends. The first, a filed and sand-smoothed taper. which quickly forms short, stubby needle prick point. Across is the other, a flat, square end finish. Its surface is brushed, not polished. Lacking this tool, I use emery cloth to smooth the sharp filings instead. Its saw-jagged edge. I stay up late nights. I rehearse with my band. Dream of a life on stage, and eventually I fall asleep. Tonight, I am holding my finished brass ring, and I review my plan. Subpoint needle end on my tiny pinch of skin. Complete the piercing by hand pushing it hard through. Second, blunt the point once complete. Use a small file. Third, close the gap with pliers. Fourth, clean and care for the wound until skin heals around brass. I've taken a tray of ice cubes and set it next to me. Notice how the condensation builds along the tray sides, how it drips onto the tabletop. I crack the tray, loose the cubes, and began icing a small area of skin just at the back of my scrotum, just where it attaches to my body. I ice it for half an hour. I drink beer to blur hesitation. I believe pain will be managed. I hate my scrotum, my penis, my maleness, myself. My thoughts of suicide are forgotten as I imagine a piercing success. I recall a nude image from a porn magazine, a woman with a piercing near the same body location, except she has no penis, no scrotum, no maleness. I am struck by her beauty. I am struck by the piercing, its uniqueness, our difference. And a depth in my stomach clenches as I recall, like a gentle black hole, soft pulling at my insides, slow and steady, deep center. A pull steady into sadness, like empty gathers into storm. But my piercing will break this storm. Its sharpness will tear this sadness. Its success will destroy this slow pull of bad. My piercing will dominate, overtake my penis, overtake my scrotum, replace them both, and it will make me powerful, whole, fearless. I will claim strength through endurance. I will conquer my shame, my self-hatred, my all, and my heart beats a rhythm, blank and presence. And this music opens a universe. And fuck the radio playlist, fuck the industry standard, my head, my brain between speakers. I follow the drums, touch the edge of measured time, caress notes as they push me back, as they knock me sideways, and I stumble and catch a sharpness of tone. Where a voice now threads, where I am buried alive, where I am buried gone, and I am buried disappeared, and I carve this dark as it hides my secret fear, my desire for impossible, my hours of self-hate. But I am strong enough to weep, and so I cut flesh as I dream, and so I blank thought when I wake. And now it's dark and it's late, and with a leg over armrest and a mirror set crooked, I place smooth filed ring, then the sharp needle point stub against tightly pinched skin as I press left thumb and first finger so cold to the touch, press tight at the pinch till it's all blood gone pale, till it's all white. Feel the melted ice frozen, feel the breath when I breathe, feel the stop when I wait, feel the pain when I push. Pierce past the skin surface, blood covers my fingertips. They slip when I push, and I slip with my touch. Readjust past the warmth, readjust past the wet, readjust past the sweat and the iron smell of it all. And my nerves come alive, a recognition of source, and my grip slips again, leaving point lodged in deep, and the pain is like fire, and the blood rushes back, and I can't push the exit, can't pierce the other side, and my mind bursts open. I must get it through, and I make myself a promise. I will love all my body. I will embrace this small jewel, and my gender will diminish, and a wholeness renew, and I try one more time, and again, 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 again. But my fingers' grip fails, and my skin pinch is lost. Old blood sticks like honey, new blood slips like paste. And here the ring hangs, half in skin and half not through, and I'm goddamn flat, and I'm god fucking done. And so I free the damn thing, throw it violent away, and I clean the half piercing, let the alcohol sting, and my thoughts all dull drift, and I end all this shit, as I know I am a man and insane to think other, and I sleep hard through the night, through a lifetime and sweat, and tomorrow I grasp at a small razor's edge. I see hell in a mirror, and I cut through my long hair, holding Enza. I watch chunks of it spill, and it takes 15 minutes till all my skull is gone ragged, till the sink is messed full, and I weep at my terror. This is me. This is me. Five to nine. 6 o'clock, and I think I'm breathing. 6 o'clock, I think I'm reeling. 6 o'clock, and I'm rushing in. 6 o'clock, and I'm paper thin, and I follow. 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 Time is standing, and my face is freezing. Time is standing, and the choice is teasing. Time is standing with wings of its own. Time is standing apart and alone, and I follow. 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 Life is poison, desire, and disease. Life destroyer requires what it pleases. Life is blind, and the rage that it feeds, twice as cold as the blood that it bleeds, but I follow. 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 Okay. So I think we've come to the end of our first set. I warned you all, this is a dark album. For dark times, I guess. Just about 9, okay. So I'm going to make a transition to Patreon, patreon.com/Venus to Mars. Consider going and visiting, maybe joining. If not, we'll be back in 2 more weeks, and we'll do this again. So thank you all so much.